Alright, good day everyone. This a deeper dive into Mapletree Industrial Trust, the quarter FY23-24 financial results dated 25th January 2024. I already had a preliminary look at these numbers, but today we'll go more in depth. Right, so all the things we've discussed before. Alright, these two numbers are up slightly. DPU is down 0.9% year on year. Right, we want to note that there's positive rental revisions across all property segments, which is good, and higher average rental rates for both Singapore and North American portfolio, which is more or less their whole portfolio lah, outside of the Osaka data center. Right, so this one is good. Right, the rest I think we've discussed before. Alright, DPU is flattish. Alright, but this is more or less sustained by their divestments. Right, so we'll look into their divestments quickly. Right, so I just try to do the numbers here. Right, so we want to compare this quarter versus last quarter. Right, so if we look at this quarter versus last quarter, right, gross revenue is down by 0.1%, which is fine, but property expense is down 3.4%. I think this is encouraging, right, because if you compare this number versus last year same quarter, right, the increase is 5.7%, but last quarter to this quarter, actually there is a drop in property expense. So maybe they are able to keep this under control lah. Alright, so at least the numbers seem to suggest something good going on here. Right, we'll move on to distribution to unit holders. So if we compare last quarter to this quarter, right, it looks like it went up 1.2%. Alright, and if you look at divestments, right, I'm going to assume that the divestments they made, or which they got 2.1 million for, and they distributed it over 2 quarters. Alright, I'm going to assume this 2.1 million is distributed equally across both quarters lah. Right, so each quarter received 1.05 million. Okay, likewise with this distribution from the 65 tech parks, right, again they distributed it over 2 quarters. Right, so I'm going to assume this 4.2 million is distributed evenly across both quarters. Right, which means that both these quarters, right, both receive 3.15 million from divestments. Right, I really tried hard to figure out if this value here is correct, because I'm assuming that they took 2.1 million and gave both quarters half each. Right, I really tried hard to find out if that is the case from the financial reports, but I couldn't find the data. So if I'm wrong, someone is aware of the data, please point out to me in the comment section. Right, I'll really appreciate it. Okay, I'll try to reshoot this video to make the corrections if I have to. Alright, so with that, if we assume that this is the contribution to both quarters, then they got the same contribution, then I think there's no need to go and recalculate this when we compare second quarter and third quarter because they got the same amount of boost from divestments. Right, so we can safely say that DPU is up 1.2% quarter on quarter. Right, but when we compare against third quarter FY22-23, which is this one, last year the same quarter, right, then the divestments are completely different. Right, so again I made the same assumption that this money is evenly spread out over 8 quarters, which means that in one quarter I get 1.96 million. Right, likewise this one I assume that it's evenly spread over 3 quarters, which means 2.2 million. Right, so here the divestment amount of money that they want to give to unit holders is 4.16 million. So this thing is boosted by 4.16 million. So if I take out the 4.16 million, I get 88,172,000, right? Versus here, which I take out this amount which is contributed from divestments, right? So 95 million becomes 92,072,000, right? So when I divide this by a number of units in issue, right, then I get the DPU of 3.29. Right, this is assuming there's no divestments distributed. Right, likewise here I get 3.24. Right, so this is just operational dividends. Right, so if I look at this, right, it's actually a 1.5% improvement instead of a 0.9% drop. Right, so the 0.9% drop is comparing when they include the divestment gains. Right, but if I look at operational performance, I think actually there's a 1.5% improvement. Right, so assuming these calculations are correct, right, actually Mapletree Industrial Trust seems to have the best results, even better than Mapletree Logistics Trust. Right, so with that, I don't think I will go into too much about the rest. I don't really have too much else to say. Right, oh yeah, the last thing I want to worry about is given that you can see that this amount of money it ends on this date. So the question is, will DPU fall from this number, right? Because so far you see this number, and this number, they've all been boosted by divestment gain. That means they sold property and return money to the unit holders, right? That's why they're able to hold DPU. So the big question is, will there be a drop in DPU, right? But I think the answer to the question just popped out today, that there was this announcement fresh from the oven, 7 February 2024. They sold another property, right, for 50 million, right? So I don't know if they're going to distribute it in the next quarter or not. All right, so maybe this will help keep the dividends flattish, right? That's I think the best hope we have until the interest rates drop, right? So I think, like all the other REITs, MIT is suffering from the same interest rates and operational cost issues lah. But I think they are doing slightly better than the other REITs. Right, with that, reminder again, this is not financial advice. All right, please do your due diligence before buying or selling anything. Right, thank you and goodbye.